Sometimes the most devastating betrayals come wrapped in corporate jargon. Restructuring, you're out. Andre, director for 18 months, MBA desk jockey. Gabriel, 46, built the entire system alone. $14.7 million saved. No problem, he smiled. 48 hours later, massive breach. Andre blamed him publicly. Fatal mistake. My name is Gabriel Ferreira. I'm 46, and I was a senior IT manager at a multinational tech firm here in New York City. I've been in cybersecurity for 17 years, responsible for the entire data protection infrastructure for the US operation. I built this system from scratch, line by line, firewall by firewall. Over the last 5 years, my protocols saved this company $14.7 million in attacks that never happened. Hard numbers, audited annually. I loved what I did. I'd wake up at 6, be at the office before 7:30, reviewing security logs with hot coffee at my desk. My team was small but efficient. 4 analysts. I trained myself. We understood each other without having to say much. A single look was enough when something was wrong. My wife, Renata, complained I worked too much, but she understood. Our apartment on the Upper West Side was paid off. My daughter was in med school at NYU. Everything planned years in advance. Then Andre Costa arrived. 18 months ago, corporate hired him as director of technology. 38 years old, an MBA from some second-tier university I'd never heard of, expensive ties, and very little real technical experience. In our first alignment meeting, he spent 40 minutes talking about synergy and digital transformation without saying a single concrete thing. When the board asked about our 2-factor authentication protocols, he hesitated. He looked at me. I had to explain the technical details while he pretended he was just delegating. I saw the resentment in his eyes that day. In the following months, Andre started cutting me out of strategic meetings. He said I was too technical, that the board needed business vision. But every time something critical blew up, my phone rang. Nights, weekends, holidays, I always answered, I always fixed it. He would take the credit in the Monday presentations. I learned not to care. My work spoke for itself. Last November, I was about to receive my annual bonus. $180,000, equivalent to 22% of my salary. I'd worked all year for that number. I had already planned to use part of it to renovate my mom's house down in Florida. On a Friday at 4 in the afternoon, Andre called me into his office, 10 days before the official payout. I walked in, and he didn't even look up from his screen. He kept typing for another 30 seconds, a cheap intimidation tactic I'd seen in bad movies. Finally, he spoke, still staring at his monitor. Gabriel, the company is restructuring. Your position is being eliminated, effective immediately. I gripped the back of the chair. What do you mean, effective immediately? Today is your last day. HR will process your exit on Monday. You can get your things. And my bonus. He finally looked at me. Bonuses are only paid to active employees on the disbursement date. You know that. I left that room, my legs weak. 17 years, the entire system in my hands. Fired on a Friday afternoon, 10 days before $180,000. I cleared my desk in silence. My team looked at me, confused. I couldn't explain. I just hugged each one and left. Renata cried when I told her. My daughter was silent. I spent all of Saturday on the couch, staring at the ceiling. In the first hours after the firing, I felt something I'd never experienced before. 17 years of routine, broken in an instant. I woke up at the same time on Saturday morning, 6 a.m., but had nowhere to go. I stayed in bed listening to Renata get ready, pretending I was still asleep. My daughter Julia called Saturday night. She was in the middle of a shift at the teaching hospital, but she took 15 minutes to talk. Dad, you always said that competence speaks loudest. Do you still believe that? I didn't know how to answer right away. I just said yes, because that's what a father is supposed to say. But inside, for the first time in decades, I doubted it. Sunday morning, at 6:20, my cell phone rang. International number. I answered, half-dazed. Gabriel, this is Richard Murphy, CFO from corporate. We need you. Now. I sat up in bed. What happened? System breach, middle of the night. Data for 340,000 customers compromised. Nobody here can contain it. Andre said you left critical vulnerabilities before you left. A cold chill went down my spine. He said what? That the system had flaws you didn't fix. That you knew and didn't report it. Gabriel, is that true? I got out of bed. Richard, I built every inch of that system. There is no vulnerability I don't know about. Can you give me remote access? 15 minutes later, I was at my home office computer. Renata brought me coffee and just stood there watching me type. I accessed the logs remotely with my emergency credentials, the ones not even Andre knew existed. What I saw made me stop breathing for 3 seconds. The attack didn't come from outside. 3 critical firewalls had been manually disabled 2 days earlier, Thursday at 11:43 p.m. The digital log showed everything: admin ID, access certificate, IP address of the machine. Andre Costa had logged in and taken down the protections. Purposefully, I read that line 4 times, then 5. Renata asked what was wrong. I didn't answer yet. I kept digging. I found more. An external user had been created that same night with full administrative permissions. Username R. Almeida Consultant. The breach came from that login. It wasn't a breach. It was someone walking in the front door with a key. As I started digging through the logs that Sunday morning, it wasn't just technical work. Every line I read, every piece of evidence I uncovered was rebuilding something inside me. The certainty that I wasn't crazy, that I hadn't failed, that the system I built was solid, and someone had deliberately sabotaged it. I kept digging into the archived records. The deeper I went, the worse it got. 7 months of suspicious alterations. Small changes to the system, always late at night, always signed by Andre. Firewalls temporarily weakened, authentication protocols simplified for hours. Then, magically, emergency contracts approved for an external consultant to resolve urgent technical problems. I opened the financial records I still had access to as a senior manager. They hadn't revoked it yet. Almeida Consulting, an LLC opened 8 months ago. 7 contracts in the last few months, all approved by Andre Costa, all paid as emergency expenses. Total value, $2.1 million. I looked up the LLC, Rodrigo Almeida. Same address Andre had listed as his emergency contact in HR. His brother-in-law. I sat back in my chair. Renata put her hand on my shoulder. Gabriel, give me a minute. Mile. I went back to the logs. I needed to be certain. I needed everything. I found the emails. An automatic backup the system performed of all corporate communications, a protocol I myself had implemented 3 years ago for SOX compliance. Andre probably didn't even know it existed. There were messages between Andre and Rodrigo for the last 9 months. Detailed planning, create technical problems, solve them with an external consultant, pocket the difference. I found the first suspicious email in a folder Andre probably thought he'd deleted. It was from 7 months ago, a conversation with Rodrigo about cost optimization opportunities. I read it 3 times before I understood the code. Optimization meant creating problems. Costs meant fraudulent contracts. Renata came into the office with more coffee. You've been at this for 4 hours. I need more time. She didn't argue. She just left the coffee and walked out. I kept digging. I found messages from a chat app, the kind people think disappear after 24 hours. They don't. The corporate backup saves everything, encrypted for legal reasons. I had the master key. And then, 5 weeks ago, a specific email. We need to get Gabriel out before the bonus. He asks too many questions. We'll save the 180K and put a junior in his place. Someone who doesn't really understand how the system works. Rodrigo's reply, perfect. When he's gone, I'll take over all security on a fixed contract. No one will question it. In a message from 3 months ago, Andre wrote to Rodrigo, Gabriel is a problem. He knows too much. Any serious audit, he helps them understand the system. We need him out before that. Rodrigo's reply, but he doesn't suspect anything, right? Andre, 0. He's one of those idiots who believes hard work is rewarded. lives in a Disney movie. I saved that conversation in a separate folder, printed it, put it in an envelope. I kept reading. There was more, so much more. The final plan: create a spectacular breach, something that would scare the board enough to approve a $4.5 million security contract with Rodrigo's company. Fire 3 more senior managers during the restructuring, save on everyone's bonuses, about $620,000 in total. Divide everything. I closed my eyes. I took 3 deep breaths. Something changed inside me in that moment. It wasn't exactly anger, though the anger was there too. It was something colder, more precise, an absolute clarity about what needed to happen. I called Richard back. I can contain the attack, but I have conditions. Anything, Gabriel. I come back as an independent consultant, $45,000 a week, unrestricted access to all systems, and I want it all in writing, signed today. 5 seconds of silence. Done. How long do you need? 4 hours to contain. 3 weeks to stabilize everything. You've got it. I hung up and looked at Renata. She was standing with her arms crossed, that expression that meant she knew something had shifted. What are you going to do? Justice. In the next 4 hours, I restored every firewall, closed every port Andre had opened, and recovered all the compromised data. The system returned to normal as if nothing had happened. I reported to Richard that it was contained, but I didn't tell him the rest. Not yet. The following Monday, I returned to the office as a consultant. Signed contract, $45,000 a week, full access. Andre was in his office when I walked past. He saw me, hesitated, then gave me a nod, the expression of someone who had won but needed to keep up appearances. I nodded back. Neutral face, no emotion. My old team came to greet me. Marcelo, my senior analyst, pulled me aside in the hallway. Boss, what's this story about restructuring? We're lost without you. I'm just fixing this, then I'll see what's next. But you're coming back, right? I don't know, Marcelo. He just stared at me, trying to read something. I didn't let him. I just gave him a pat on the shoulder and went to my temporary workstation. I spent the next 3 weeks documenting everything in silence. I arrived at the office at 7:30 every day, nodded to Andre when I passed him in the hall, and pretended to just be stabilizing the systems. He ignored me, confident he had won. I spent that entire week analyzing every transaction Andre had approved in the last 14 months. It wasn't just the $2.1 million to Rodrigo. There was more, much more. A cybersecurity training company that received $340,000 for a workshop that never happened. I checked the business registration. Majority partner, Carla Costa. Andre's sister, a hardware vendor that sold servers at a 60% markup. 28 servers for $1. $8 million when the market price was $1.1 million, and the company's owner, Andre's college buddy, according to LinkedIn. A building maintenance contract that charged $85,000 a month for services the building already included in the lease. 12 months. Over $1 million gone. The company was registered to Andre's ex-wife. The more I looked, the more I found. This wasn't just isolated incompetence or greed. It was a system. A complete fraud network, carefully constructed, distributed among people close to him, with amounts that were high but not absurd enough to trigger automatic alarms. Andre was smart, or at least he thought he was. I copied every system log from the last 14 months, every suspicious financial transaction, every email between Andre and Rodrigo, including the ones they thought they'd deleted. Every fraudulent contract, every irregular approval. Digital, certificate-stamped change logs, impossible to forge. Chat messages recovered from the company's automatic backup. On Wednesday of that week, I ran into him in the elevator. We were alone. He stared at his phone, avoiding eye contact. I just stood there, quiet, watching the floor numbers climb. On the 12th floor, he broke the silence. How's the system? Stable? Completely. Great. Good work. The door opened. He walked out quickly. I smiled to myself in the empty elevator. In the second week, I found a lawyer. Dr. Henrique Tavares, a specialist in corporate fraud with an office on Wall Street. I explained everything in 2 hours, showed him the evidence. He was quiet for a full minute after I finished. Gabriel, this is more serious than you realize. We're talking about large-scale corporate fraud, a federal crime. I know, and you've documented this perfectly. Better than many professional investigators I've seen. I'm methodical. He smiled. I can see that. I need 2 more things. First, data on Rodrigo's company. Second, information on Andre's history at previous jobs. I pulled the registration for Rodrigo's LLC, opened 8 months ago, as I already knew, but with no activity before the contracts with my company. No registered employees. The business address was just a ghost office in Jersey City, a classic shell company. As for Andre, I called a college friend who works in corporate HR. I asked him to check, discreetly. He got back to me 3 days later. Gabriel, you're going to want to sit down for this. Andre had run a similar scheme at his previous company, irregular contracts, favoring suppliers, smaller amounts but the same pattern. He left before they could prove anything, but there was an internal investigation pending. He used recommendation letters that nobody bothered to verify because his MBA impressed them. That night, I called Dr. Tavares and told him about the additional findings. He was silent for 10 seconds. Gabriel, this is big, really big. You have proof of everything? I do. Then we need to involve federal authorities. This goes beyond a wrongful termination suit. I want the company to investigate first, internally. Then we decide about the authorities. Why? Because the company fired me unjustly. I want them to see exactly what they had and what they lost. I want them to make the decision to prosecute, not me. Dr. Tavares gave a low laugh. You're a strategist, Gabriel. I'm a realist. I spent the weekend organizing everything into categories: direct fraud, over-invoicing, shell contracts, nepotism, conflict of interest, each category with subcategories. Each subcategory with numbered evidence, dates, amounts, and individuals involved. Julia came over for dinner on Saturday. She looked at me differently. Dad, you seem lighter. I do? Yeah, I can't explain it, but something's different. Renata agreed. He's more focused, less anxious. They were right. For the first time in weeks, I knew exactly what I was doing. I had control. I had purpose. It wasn't anger moving me. It was precision. In the second week of my investigation, I discovered Andre had Googled how to hide corporate transaction trail and how internal audits work. Corporate browser history, all logged. He used his company computer to research how to defraud the company. I printed the search queries, added them to the dossier. I also found he had accessed my HR profile 17 times in the 2 months before he fired me, checking my salary, my bonus, my payout date, planning the perfect timing. On the 14th day of the investigation, Marcelo called me into the hallway. He looked both ways before speaking. Boss, can I tell you something? Of course. Andre is hiring new people, 3 junior analysts, low salaries. He said he's going to restructure the whole team, that we were all overpaid. When? The meeting was yesterday. He didn't tell you? No. Marcelo stared at me. You're investigating him, aren't you? I didn't answer. I just looked back. He understood. Do you need help? No, but thank you. When this explodes, and I know it's going to, I want to be on the right side. I gave my first genuine smile in weeks. You already are, Marcelo. I documented everything. Dr. Tavares helped me organize it into a formal dossier, 340 pages, detailed index, numbered evidence, a complete timeline, all printed and bound, plus a digital copy on an encrypted flash drive. 2 days later, in the 3rd week, without notifying anyone in the US office, I contacted the internal audit department at the corporate headquarters. A formal email CCing Richard, the CFO, and the corporate legal department. The email I wrote was 4 paragraphs, brief, direct, emotionless. To whom it may concern, please find attached documentation of financial and administrative irregularities identified during a system analysis. I recommend a formal investigation by an independent auditor. I remain available for clarification. Sincerely, Gabriel Ferreira. I attached the full dossier. I hit send at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Renata was asleep. Julia had called earlier to say goodnight. The house was silent. I closed the laptop. I went to bed. I slept for 6 straight hours for the first time in a month. 6 hours later, I got a call from the head of global compliance. Mr. Ferreira, we have received your report. We are opening a formal investigation. Please do not discuss this with anyone. Understood. For the next 9 days, while the audit proceeded in silence, I kept my normal routine. Arrived at 7:30, reviewed logs, ate lunch alone, went home at 6. Andre passed me 3 times during those days, always in a hurry, always staring at his phone. The last time, on the Thursday before the intervention, he was sweating. Middle of the day, the AC blasting, and his forehead was shining. He knew something was wrong. Instinct. But he didn't know what. It took 9 days. The audit worked in absolute silence, without Andre knowing he was the target. They found more than I had. He had approved $7.3 million in fraudulent contracts over the last 14 months, all with companies linked to relatives and friends. Rodrigo was just the tip of the iceberg. On Monday night, the eve of the execution, I received an email from the head of compliance. One line, "Tomorrow, 8 a.m. Thank you for your work." I showed Renata. She held my hand. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. The next Tuesday at 8 a.m., I arrived at the office at my normal time. There were 2 corporate lawyers I'd never seen before, an HR rep from headquarters, and 4 private security guards. They waited in the reception area. Andre arrived at 8:15, as always, coffee in hand, talking loudly on his phone. He got on the elevator without noticing anything. When the doors opened on our floor, the lawyers were waiting. "Mr. Andre Costa?" He stopped. He looked at them, then at the security guards. "Yes? We need you to accompany us to a conference room now." I saw it all from my desk. Andre turned red, tried to argue, but he went with them. 20 minutes later, 2 security guards entered his office and began to seal everything. His computer, his files, his drawers. They put everything into numbered boxes. Andre left the meeting room under escort. He didn't look at anyone. His face was pale, hands shaking. He grabbed his coat and was led directly to the elevator, his access badge already deactivated. When I saw Andre being escorted out, pale-faced, hands trembling, I didn't feel triumph. I felt closure, like closing a corrupted file and saving the clean version. Marcelo walked by my desk an hour later. "It happened. It happened. We knew you'd do it. I didn't do anything. I just showed them what was already there." He smiled. "Yeah, right." Rodrigo received an official notification the same day. All contracts cancelled. A lawsuit for fraud was initiated. An order to return all illicitly received funds. The next day, HR sent an internal email. Andre Costa was no longer with the company. Effective immediately. No further details. Everyone knew something serious had happened. The evidence was so solid that neither Andre nor Rodrigo even tried to deny it. There was no way. Digital certificates, system logs, time-stamped emails, bank records, everything matched up perfectly. Andre was fired for cause. He lost all his stock options, valued at $890,000. Criminal charges for corporate fraud and breach of fiduciary duty. 11 civil suits from the company demanding repayment of every stolen cent, plus damages. Rodrigo had to return the $1.4 million he'd already received. Charges for fraud and misrepresentation. His shell company was dissolved, his assets frozen. I received my $180,000 bonus in full, retroactively, plus a $340,000 compensation package for wrongful termination and workplace harassment. Corporate sent a formal apology in writing. 2 months later, I got a call from the global CEO. "Gabriel, we'd like to offer you the position of Chief Information Security Officer at headquarters. You'd command all security for our Latin American operations, salary in dollars, a team of 40. Interested?" I accepted the same day. Today, I live in Miami. My office has an ocean view. I wake up at 6:30, drink my coffee, and review logs from 19 countries. My team is scattered, but everyone responds fast. We've built new protocols, more secure, more efficient. My job now is to teach others how to protect systems the way I protected ours. Renata loves the beach. My daughter visits on her breaks. We have family dinners, something we hadn't done in years. Andre is serving 6 years in a minimum security facility. He works in a call center on a work release program to pay his debts. The lawsuits aren't even finished. Rodrigo got 5 years. He lost his condo, his imported car, his motorcycle. His ex-wife filed for divorce and got full custody of the kids. My case became an ethics study at the company. Every new manager has to watch a presentation about what happened. No names are used, but everyone knows. I learned a few things through all those months. The first is that well-built systems don't just protect data, they reveal the truth when necessary. Every log I recorded, every backup I automated, every layer of authentication I implemented thinking about security also served as evidence when I needed it. The second is that documented technical competence is worth more than any flashy title or expensive MBA. Real numbers, consistent work, measurable results. Nobody can take that away from you. The third is that revenge doesn't have to be loud. I didn't shout, I didn't fight, I didn't make a scene. I just documented the truth and let it do the work. Justice arrived on its own once everything was perfectly organized. Sometimes I still think about that Friday at 4 p.m. Andre firing me, confident he had won. He didn't know that every line of code I wrote, every protocol I implemented, every automatic backup I configured, would one day turn against him. I don't feel pleasure in seeing where he is today, but I feel peace in knowing that the system worked. The right thing prevailed, and that I built a new, stronger life on top of the truth. I sleep well every night. If you enjoyed this story, leave a like, comment what you thought, and tell us what city you're listening from. Share this with someone who needs to hear it.